Hi everybody, this is Matty Simmons and this is where comedy happens. Tonight's guest is Wayne Federman, actor, stand-up comic, writer, guy does everything and does it all hilariously. Rodney Dangerfield once told us, I come from a very dumb family. During the Civil War, my great uncle fought for the West. Be right back. And we're back where comedy happens, and we have with us tonight one of the most multi-talented guys in show business.
Well, thank you for saying that.
I mean,
you know, that's because I don't do anything great. I have to do a lot of things.
Well, you do everything great. This is Wayne Federman.
Oh, thank you.
Let's start from the beginning. How'd you get into the comedy business?
Well, unfortunately, I was a funny kid, and this is the weird thing. My teachers were the ones that encouraged me, not my parents. They didn't want me to go into show business. So I was like the first one. I was like, I'm going to do this. I have the bug. So was that it? And I have to say, even in school, I felt like you could be a kid and make the class laugh. But if you could get the teachers to laugh as well as the class, that was a higher bar. And
especially while she's working.
Yeah, of course, of course.
So how'd you get into stand-up?
Wait, I'm not done yet.
Okay, I give up.
So I grew up in one of the worst places in the country. It's called Florida. I know a lot of your fans out there, Jewish Life Television, probably live there, but it was called Plantation, Florida. Have you ever heard of it?
No.
Yeah, it's a very racially insensitive name. So my dream as a kid was to grow up in Florida, go to New York my whole life, work there, and then retire in Kiev. Do the whole thing backwards. That was my dream, but it didn't happen. So I went to NYU is what happened, and then I started they had something called comedy clubs, which had just started in the 60s. So I auditioned at a comedy club, and
What was the first joke you ever told?
I tell you, the first joke I ever told, well, unfortunately, I did ventriloquism. So I did like a ventriloquist act. But I think my first joke was a switch on an old joke, which was something like, I heard that there's a person hit by a car every 4 minutes in New York City, and I don't know who that guy is, but he should stay off the road.
And from there, you went on to television?
It's amazing that I was able to go on from anything based on that.
Tell us about some of those things.
Well, I came out to California. I got cast in a few movies. A little part, I have this thing I call the Federman and Out. Do you know what that is?
Yes.
That's one scene in a movie, and then you never see me again. I think it's because my acting is so, I'm not going to use the word brilliant, but it's very effervescent.
One is enough.
One is enough. That's enough Federman. So
Right.
I did that in
What movies?
Legally Blonde, 50 First Dates, 40-Year-Old Virgin, Knocked Up, I'm Not Done,
Good
Step
movies.
Brothers. Maybe I'm done now. No, there's a few other ones.
And
so
you work with my friend Judd Apatow.
My friend Judd Apatow.
Yes.
I've known him since he was 18. When did you
Really?
meet him?
Oh, we worked on a script together at Warner Brothers about 25 years ago.
What did you think of that kid?
I thought he might make it.
He might do all right.
He might make it.
He might do all right. I don't know if you know this, but he directed and I co-produced a documentary about Gary Shandling that just won an Emmy Award.
And that's wonderful.
Guess how long it was? This is just I want you to, I know you haven't seen it. Guess how long it is. It's a documentary about a comedian.
An hour and a half.
The hint is Judd Apatow directed it.
90 minutes.
4 hours, 28 minutes.
Oh, my God.
Yeah.
Dr. Zhivago.
Well, I was thinking of more that was, yes, it was a long.
Lawrence of Arabia.
But good reference. Yeah, so he's great at that, and it was an incredible documentary, and I was just thrilled to be involved with it. I know we were talking beforehand about how much you loved Gary, and that I got to play Gary Shandling's brother on the Larry Sanders Show is one of the career highlights. But I mean, obviously this is another one, but
Oh, the show was great, and the casting in the show was
Oh,
just
thank
wonderful.
you. I'm taking that as a compliment.
Well, every person connected to that show was
Right.
outstanding.
Well, I know you've been involved with the business for such a long time. Had you seen a backstage talk show situation dramatized or like that before?
Not as well.
Yeah,
No.
that was incredible.
Not nearly
Do you
as well.
remember Burns and Allen? Do you
Oh, of course I do.
Yeah, well, I remember.
I remember their parents. I'm so old.
You remember George Burns? Got it. That is old. The Birnbaums.
I tell you, I know you're a historian.
I'm trying to tie this back to Judaism.
Yes,
that's,
good.
that's what I'm trying to, just the through line. But Burns was a big effect on Gary Shandling for his first show when he would turn to the camera and talk right to it. I don't know if you remember, George Burns used to do back in the 50s.
And Jack Benny did that too.
Yeah, and Ben. So it was like it was just great. It was a real tribute to that style, and then I felt like he updated it in such a beautiful way.
He was an incredible comic. Just, I think I mentioned before that.
Yeah.
I watched one night he was on the Bill Maher show.
Yes,
I have
HBO?
never seen a funnier show.
Yeah.
And it was all by Gary Shandling. Bill was funny too, but Gary Shandling just stole the show.
Yeah, he was very gifted. And the episode I was on, I got to play his brother. And when we were doing the documentary, we found out later that Gary Shandling in real life had a brother that passed away when he was a kid.
Ah.
It was very sad and in a way informed a lot of how he viewed life. So when I learned that, it took
He
on...
seemed like kind of a troubled guy, but...
yeah, you would think so.
Yeah.
Yeah, he was. He was going... He was
That's
really,
why he seemed that way, huh?
Yeah, he was really searching. He was really searching for peace very much in his life. But, you know, that was like just great to be part of that.
We'll be right back. Stay there, don't
I'm not
move.
moving. I'm not moving.
We're taking a break from Comedy Happens. Okay, we're back with Comedy Happens and Wayne Federman.
Thank
You know, I mentioned before that you were had so many talents, show business talents. I didn't mention you were a musician.
That is correct. I learned, all self-taught. Can't read music.
Yeah.
I'm like a genius. I'm like Irving Berlin. I don't know if you remember him. Speaking of Jews.
I remember
I'm just
him well.
mentioning Jews on this show.
God bless America.
Yeah.
And you're an author,
Yes?
and you're a historian.
I try to be.
And-
Because I've lived a while now. I'm not a kid anymore.
No, you're at least 30.
Yeah, almost double 30. So, yeah, so I've been doing stand-up since the early 80s. Now we're at 2018. So I've lived a lot of the history of stand-up. And then I also, when I was a kid, I was really into, and you'll probably know a lot, like those radio comedians. I loved them. But we talked earlier about Jack Benny and George Burns. You remember Fred Allen?
I remember Fred Allen well. He and Jack Benny had a feud.
Yeah. Now,
They
Fred
did.
Allen was not Jewish. Are we allowed to talk to him about him?
We can mention his
Okay,
name.
okay.
And an interesting friend of mine was Eddie Cantor.
Of course. Old Banjo Eyes. Or Banjo Eyes. Wasn't Old Banjo Eyes.
And Eddie's real name was Eddie Ishkowitz.
They all changed their names.
Yeah, and after he became a star, he went back to the Lower East Side just to look at the old neighborhood.
Yeah.
And a little old lady came up to him and said, "Didn't you used to be Eddie Ishkowitz?"
Nice.
And
Now, did you change your name?
no,
But you know, all of those guys, Jack Benny was Benny Kablowski.
yes.
Yeah, they all wanted to assimilate into this great society.
Who were the early stand-ups that you admired?
Well, again, I was into those radio guys. I loved, and this is going to be embarrassing because a lot of people don't love him, but I loved Mr. Television Milton Berle. I just had a real affection. I don't know why.
The country loved him. He was
Yeah.
the first big TV star.
No question, Mr. Tuesday Night, or that's what his wife called him.
Texaco Theater.
Yeah. And then, so I loved him. And then when I was a kid, it was like, there was like the big three, I call them, which was George Carlin, Richard Pryor, and Robert Klein. Those were kind of my guys. But I also liked obscure, there was a comedian named Roger Ray. There was a comedian named Dick Shawn. I don't know. But,
Dick
like
Shawn.
kind of like weird guys.
The producers, right?
Yeah. Springtime for Hitler. So it's So I've liked the whole history, and even comedians today. Like there's a comedian named Patton Oswalt and Paul F. Tompkins. I just think they're incredible comedians. So I've been fascinated from like when stand-up started. In vaudeville, there was a guy named Frank Fay. I don't know if you.
Oh yes, of course I do.
You know Fay?
No, I didn't know him, but I know
You've
the
heard of
name.
him.
I was a kid.
Yeah, he was the guy that influenced Bob Hope that kind of created the modern stand-up. I mean,
Right.
obviously, it was Mark Twain was doing stuff like stand-up.
And you have a podcast.
Mm-hmm.
Tell me about it.
Well, it's called The History of Stand-Up, and it's very much what's happening right here. We go back, starting basically with Fay. I mean, we talk a little bit about Mark Twain and those guys, but there was a guy named Artemus Ward in the 1800s that did kind of these funny speeches. So he was like a forerunner of it. And then
Vaudeville.
And then we'd go vaudeville big time. We do all the, the big Ed Wynn and all the big vaudeville guys. And then we do radio. And really the history of stand-up, when I think about it, and tell me what you think, is kind of the history of technology. Because if you think about Jack Benny, not a big vaudeville star, but as soon as radio came around, that kind of like easygoing manner, perfect fit for radio. And I'm sure, go ahead.
And the funniest line, no, I didn't mean to interrupt, it was Jack Benny, the funniest line ever spoken on...
The biggest laugh on radio, history of radio.
Tell the line.
The joke is it took 20 years to set up the
Right.
joke, which
Well,
he was cheap, and then he's walking down an alley and two muggers come up to him and says, your money or your life, and he says, I'm thinking it over. I know that sounds corny, but literally like supposedly the longest laugh in the history of network radio.
Incredible story.
Incredible, yeah.
His timing was
the whole thing.
perfection.
Perfection. So, but then television comes along. And then you get a new group. You get Sid Caesar or Burl and all of these guys that weren't successful on radio. And then records came along. I don't know if you remember when Bob Newhart's record came out. Yeah. And those guys, and Shelley Berman. So now you have these new comedians that put their comedy on record. I don't know if this interests you, but this was fascinating.
Comedy interests me, believe me.
You know Alan King.
Very well, I know him.
He was like, oh, you knew him?
Yes.
Oh. Do you want to tell me anything about him? Because I never met him.
I remember the last time I saw Alan, I was sitting at a restaurant in Beverly Hills, and he was sitting a couple of tables away with Neil Simon, and he got up from his table, walked over to my table, pointed to Neil Simon, and said, I taught him everything he knows.
Love it.
That's Alan's.
Right.
That was his dry sense of humor. And a lovely guy, a really nice guy.
And he ended up being an actor, and he produced movies at the end, am I right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And television.
Well, here's the crazy thing. When those records came out, Shelley Berman, Bob Newhart, all of the guys, Lenny, Woody, all of those guys, they was like, do you want to put out an album? And he didn't. He was like, why should I give my act away for $1.98? That was the price of an album back then. If you can believe it, people.
And who of all time, who's your favorite?
I don't really have a favorite, but I will say the guy that I loved, Carson, and I loved Jerry Seinfeld. Like I really love those two. Like I like guys that are very clean. I hate to say it. I like clean comedy, and I also like guys that are razor sharp with their timing.
And who is your favorite female comic, or is your favorite female?
Well, working today, I absolutely adore Maria Bamford. Is her name? She's like a female Jonathan Winters. If you haven't seen her, she's incredible. But going back, I loved Phyllis Diller, and obviously Joan Rivers, and especially Toady Fields.
Funny lady.
I really thought she was just had a great rhythm and vibe about her that was just incredible.
Yes. We got to pause, take a break, be back with Comedy Happens and Wayne Federman.
That is exactly correct. We will be right back with Comedy Happens here on Jewish Life Television.
Oh, we're back with Comedy Happens. And Mr. Federman.
Thank you.
Mr. Federman is, as I said before, a man of many, many talents. And one thing he does that I really like is he teaches.
Yep.
And I understand you teach at USC.
Yes, the University of Southern California.
Yeah.
Or some people call them the University of Spoiled Children, because it's very pricey.
And
it's
what do you
over
teach?
70 grand to go to school there.
Oh,
Can
my
you
God.
imagine? That's a year. That's not for the whole thing.
And I lectured there about 20 years ago, and they didn't even pay me.
What? Yeah, so they started teaching stand-up comedy at that school about 5 years ago, and they were like, this is going great. Let's do level 2 stand-up and stand-up history. So that's how they got me. So I teach level 2. You have to take level 1 even to get to Professor Federman.
And that costs another $50,000.
It's a lot of money. I told them, I was like, just do open mics. That's what I tell the kids. Go out, do comedy. That's the way you learn it. But the class
I tell
sells
my
out.
kids, leave after high school.
Oh, really? Yeah. The class sells out like that. And there's been some very talented kids, believe it or not. Really talented
I'm
youngsters.
sure.
Yeah, it's
I'm
really.
sure they are.
I learned, to tell you the truth, I learned a little something from them.
Well, you go to comedy clubs nowadays, and there's always a number of people who really have it.
I know.
Yeah.
It's incredible. I love that I'm part of it in any level. Like even when I was starting out, like the lowest level to, it's like we were talking about earlier. I wrote monologue jokes for Jimmy Fallon. That was in New York City, in Rockefeller Center, Studio 6B.
How long does it take? How big a team did you have to write the monologues?
Good question. For the monologue team, there was myself and about 5 or 6 other people below.
Well, just for the how many
Just
minutes?
for the monologue, and then another 5 or 6 guys. There was like 12 altogether to write the sketches. Something called the desk pieces. A desk piece might be like thank you notes or something like that, and they would come up with those. Yeah. Do you remember Johnny Carson?
Do I remember Johnny Carson?
He was only on the air 30 years. A lot of people don't remember. But he used to have that great desk piece, Karnak. Do you remember Karnak?
Yeah, sure.
Well, when I was doing some research, I found out that bit was kind of stolen from Steve Allen, who used to do something called the Answer Man, which he would, So I don't remember the Steve Allen.
I was a guest on his show 3 or 4 times.
The Tonight Show or the Sunday Night Show?
The first Tonight Show.
Do you have footage of this? Why aren't we showing this?
I don't have any. No, I never.
In New York at the Hudson Theater?
I don't remember where it was. I remember Steve was just the nicest guy.
Nicer than Wayne Federman?
Well,
all right.
let's not stretch it. But I'm going to give Wayne Federman a job right now.
Yeah, let's do it.
Fast round.
Okay, lightning round.
You've made a lot of good movies?
Yeah.
What's your favorite movie comedy of all time?
Of all time, I'm going to go with Manhattan by Woody Allen. I know he's on the outs now with a lot of people, and I'm triggering people by mentioning his name, but I adore that. It's a romantic comedy.
I know.
Yeah. So I love it.
And who's your favorite movie actor?
My favorite movie actor?
Comedy.
Oh, it might be Jim Carrey.
Your favorite stand-up comic, male or female?
Well, we spoke about Milton Berle. I adore him, and Seinfeld. So either one of those guys.
You did say that before.
And Shanley. Female stand-up of all time.
Yeah, not necessarily stand-up. Could be a comedy actress.
Again, I mentioned Toady Fields. I just want to mention her again because I adored her so much.
Do you remember? I'll ask you. Do you remember Lucille Ball's work?
Not familiar. Lucille Ball. Yes, everyone knows Lucy.
Lucy.
Come on. She was. Let me tell you who I liked. But I really liked B. Arthur.
Oh, great.
I thought she had amazing timing and just. I thought she had the whole package.
She was great.
Incredible.
How about your favorite one-liner? It could be a movie or.
Okay, let me tell you. I don't know if it's a one-liner, but it is from Blazing Saddles, the Mel Brooks movie from 1974. The movie is so brilliant. At one point, they leave the studio where they're shooting the movie and then go to another studio lot on Warner Brothers, and then they go to see a movie called Blazing Saddles while they're in the movie Blazing Saddles. It's so meta. And then when Harvey Korman goes to buy a ticket, he pulls out an ID and goes, student. That's my favorite moment.
Yeah.
That's my favorite moment.
Well, mine are from Billy Wilder movies.
Oh, Some Like It Hot, maybe?
Some Like It Hot. You remember the last line in that picture?
Of course. Can't be perfect, or nobody's perfect.
And the setup is that Tony Curtis has been dressed as a woman.
Of course.
And Joey Brown is on the make for him. And to keep Joey Brown's hands off him, Curtis admits that he's masquerading as a woman. And Joey Brown says,
nobody's perfect?
Nobody's perfect.
Yeah, I mean, that's one of the great, 1959, if I'm not mistaken.
I don't remember the line, but
Wow.
Billy Wilder to me was just such a great.
I liked his dramas just as much.
Yes.
Yeah, incredible.
He could do everything.
Sunset Boulevard, incredible.
Okay, before we leave, I'm going to hit you up to tell me your favorite joke of all time.
Okay, I will do the one from my act, and then I will do one from Henny Youngman's act.
You got it.
Okay, my act is, I liked the name Wayne until the 4th grade, when my teacher was like, Wayne is also a word. I go, I didn't know that. She goes, yeah, it means to diminish slowly over time. That's my joke. And then Henny's joke was, I'll do a series of them. He goes, my girlfriend was so ugly when I took her to the zoo, I had to get her 2 tickets, one to get her in, one to get her out. I'm not done. I played a small town. This town was so small, they were going to have a Veterans Day parade, but he got sick. They had 1 yellow page. The town was so small, the local hooker was a virgin. Those are jokes I love.
God, I love Danny Youngman. He those one-liners just
incredible.
Hey,
one to get her
Wayne.
in, one to get her out.
Wayne, it's been so great spending
It's
this
been an
time
honor
with you.
for me.
It's been my honor.
All right.
So good to see you. Get some new trades, will you?
Okay, I'm going to work on
done anything new in a while.
I'm thinking about woodworking.
Dental work, perhaps.
Oh, okay.
And that, folks, was Comedy Happens with Wayne Federman. See ya.